Did you know that it's time for Wait, Did I Roll a Wild? We're here, we're gonna make you smile. I don't think we'll get too mild, cause it's Wait, Did I Roll a Wild? Hi, welcome to Wait, Did I Roll a Wild? Your Marvel Crisis Protocol vlog. I'm Tim. I'm here. That's Dan. He's over there.
Hi.
Dr. Dylan is in Massachusetts. But this week, we are going to be talking about a whole bunch of things. Agent Venom came out. I'm pretty certain I heard a very loud, like a yelp, not a yelp, but like a scream of happiness all the way from Nashville. When that card came out from Mr. Nate GG. And, I hope that he's not disappointed with this card because I know this is his favorite character and it's something that we're going to talk about tonight. And I'm excited to talk about it tonight. In addition to that, we're going to talk about not a game that we played this week because I had the tummy troubles. Similar to a dragon that loves tacos, I had too much spicy salsa and it gave me the tummy troubles. If you're thinking that I might be referring to the book Dragons Love Tacos 2, you'd be incorrect. That book is trash and should not be read. Dragons Love Tacos 1, though, actually a very good book.
Just keep getting yourself on that same rant.
Right? I'm trying not to get myself worked up, but...
I'll go get the book right now.
No!
It's upstairs.
Please don't.
It's right over there.
No. Like in this room or like upstairs?
No, like
over there?
over there, up the stairs.
All right. So we're also going to discuss something that I am interested in, and this was something we talked about before Mystique came out, when she was revealed as someone that was going to be coming out, about how her shape-shifting would work. And Dan and I have both been playing. Dan actually inflicted upon me the corruption that is playing Marvel Snap.
Oh, it's so good.
And I've been making a lot of use of Morph in Marvel Snap as well. Really
he
like
can
him.
Be fun because he's so random.
Yeah, I like that kind of gameplay. I like that Hearthstone gameplay where it's like, see what happens. Oh, great, it's Odin again. It's like, sweet. Like,
nice. You haven't gotten Jubilee yet, have you?
I literally just unlocked a Jubilee today.
That's interesting.
And with that new Sabertooth Tiger that turns 4 threats into, or 4 cost things into 2 cost things, I was like, I am absolutely adding Jubilee to my Swarm deck where all my 4s become 2s.
I can't recommend Marvel Snap enough. It's so good.
It is very good. And if you, this is not an ad for Marvel Snap, by the way.
If only.
Unless you want to sponsor us. But it's good. And as far as like addicting mobile games, I have never once felt compelled to spend money on this outside of the season passes, which I think are actually pretty reasonable as a whole.
You get a lot of stuff from it.
Yeah. It's actually it's good.
It's actually a good game.
You don't play it all day. I mean, you could if you really want to grind out your rating.
Keep charging your phone. Yeah,
it does. But the first couple days you play it, you can play it all day. Hey, Ravensguard.
Hey.
By the way, Ravensguard, if anyone out there is part of the Facebook group or groups on Facebook for Marvel Crisis Protocol, Ravensguard has been putting together just an absolutely cool scene of a Sentinel like attacking 2 mutants all on one base. It looks really awesome. He does really cool work.
Yeah.
But in addition to all that, we're also going to be discussing how can you make shape-shifting work mechanically and narratively in Marvel Crisis Protocol, or potentially, stealing people's powers and stuff. Because Morph, kind of on the similar level as Mystique, where I don't believe he can actually copy powers, it's just their physical form.
Correct.
But when you already have a character like Mystique, who is kind of known as that saboteur, that espionage expert, that's not Morph's role. Morph's...
No.
Not
he's not hiding.
Correct. He's not that person. So how would you make that work in a way that would be true to the character and neat in the game? And in addition, characters that can copy powers like Mimic or Copycat. How can you make that work in a functional way that's also very fun and just rad as heck?
There's a great moment in early Exiles.
I love Morph from the Exiles.
I love that. We're going to reference that series a lot, talking about Morph and Mimic. There's a great scene where he's like separated with Sasquatch.
Morph or Mimic?
Morph.
Okay.
And Sasquatch are like separated from everybody else. And they're like being hunted by a savage Wolverine.
Yeah.
And Morph thinks, he's like, all right, I'll just morph into whatever and he won't be able to find me. And then Wolverine does and like stabs him and whatnot. When Morph's like, ow, but okay, whatever. And he's like, how'd you find me? And he's like, you don't smell like anything. And that stands out more than anything else. And
Gotcha.
Morph's like, nuts. And then like turns his hand into a hammer and clubs him or whatever, you know.
I watched a TikTok today where someone mixed the cranberry like seltzery beverage with the cucumber lime Gatorade, and the reason he did it was because his
awful.
His chat was like, it tastes like nothing. You'll mix those two, you'll drink it, and you'll be like, this is a flavor, and then you'll take another sip and you'll be like, this is just cold. There's no flavor. It's like eating, I don't know if you've ever eaten just like a spoonful of fat-free cream cheese, but it's just cold. It's just like, wow, this is tangible cold in my mouth.
Sounds awful.
That's it. Yeah.
I tried the cucumber Gatorade. It just tastes like cucumber melon stuff from back in the day. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. I went to Bath and Body Works with like anyone I ever dated, and because like that was the thing to do. You go to the mall, you go to Bath and Body Works.
They'd buy all the cucumber melon.
All the cucumber melon stuff. It was
when we were in like middle school, high school.
We'd go get a soda at that little kiosk thing. That was the white cup with like the MS Paint spray tool blue with purple
line.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the good news is we're already off to a couple really good tangents. So. Yeah. But yeah, so
people expect when it's the two of us. Dylan's not here to be like, so who's Ulick?
That's
so
true.
Who's Agent Venom?
So Agent Venom, just as a whole, if you are unfamiliar, I got really well versed in Agent Venom in both Guardians and in the Thunderbolts. Specifically, the Thunderbolts run that was led by Red Hulk, had Elektra, Ghost Rider, Agent Venom, Deadpool, and Punisher.
Sounds like a dope lineup.
It really was. This was also the run where they went to hell to like go free someone's soul from Mephisto or something like that. I think Ghost Rider had some beef with him or whatever. And they get to like the throne of hell, and it's Guido.
Oh yeah,
on the throne, strong guy. And he's like, hey guys.
I love strong guys.
Oh, so Mephisto was being really mean, so I beat him up. And now I'm the devil, I guess. Like
those little hair wispy. Do you still have sunglasses on?
I think so. Yeah.
It's the best.
But yeah, I absolutely adored that run, and that got me really familiar with Agent Venom, who, you know, kind of has a lot going on as far as, you know, he can only have the Venom symbiote for so long before it starts to take over, or it just comes off. They like leave it in a tube, and yeah, he doesn't have legs sometimes, and other times he does have legs. He's kind of like my dad.
So when we see Agent Venom, his legs are totally symbiote.
Yes. That is my understanding.
Right, because he lost him in Afghanistan or something.
Yep. And he came back a war hero, and you know, then they were like, "Well, obviously, you probably need a symbiote." And he was like, "Okay."
I mean, I'll try it.
So, and I mean, there's some caveats there where it's, you know, he doesn't experience like the hunger. I mean, I think in any super reasonable way, like Eddie would or Matt Gargan did when he was wearing the Venom symbiote. And I also don't think that this is actually the full Venom symbiote. I think this is just a derivative off of Venom. But I guess to get right into it, I think his card is actually pretty stellar. I'm really excited for this character, and this is one of those things too where we've talked about when we really want characters in this game, or there's characters that I really like specifically. I'm like, oh, I really hope they make them a 4. Because I don't want them to be a 3. I want them to be a really good 4.
You want them to have that power, so you feel like they really do something on the tabletop.
So like that's what I felt about Magic. I was like, I really think Magic should be a 4. She's, you know, the Sorcerer Supreme of Limbo. She should like really have some oomph behind her stuff, and she is a very good character.
Yeah.
But
a 3.
But a 3.
It's a little disappointing, but she's still. I mean, it makes her easier to take, easier to splash.
Yeah.
It's funny.
And a very splashable character just in general as well.
Yeah. She's got a lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot of universally good things.
Mm-hmm.
But when I first looked at the card, I was like, okay, he's a 4. Great. He's going to be awesome.
Yep.
And then I looked it over, and at first, my first impression was he seems a little lackluster for a 4. But the more I look over it and the more I see some of his own symbiosis with his own abilities, and then thinking of him in Guardians, in the panel display it mentions Shield and
Shield was so obvious.
Web Warriors, of course.
How did we not think about Shield? Yeah, he's literally like a government agent.
Constantly forget that's an affiliation in the game anyway.
Yeah, that's super valid.
So it's specifically mentioned, so we can assume he's in those 3.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking of him in those is like, okay, the more I looked at it, the better he seems.
Yeah.
To where he is solid above. Like when I first posted the picture in the Discord, you're like, wow, he is not mid.
No, he's not.
He seems.
And I meant that in a very good way,
which I think is great. Yeah, it's just I don't know what it was at first. I was like, eh. I think the problem here is that you can't help but compare him to Eddie Brock Venom.
Yes.
Right. Like
I
he's
think,
Venom.
Yeah.
But I think AMG did a great job of making them different.
Yes.
They're not like you can totally feel both at the same time, and they're gonna have pretty different roles.
And there's similarities there, but
absolutely
they're pretty minimal actually, and so I think you're 100% right there. These characters are incredibly distinguished from one another. They have very different roles, and I think they did a really solid job here. So I'm very excited to talk about this. So just to get right into it, starting from the top, let it drop. It's Flash Thompson with his defenses as 4-2-3. Think that's pretty solid. Venom is the same
exact thing as Venom.
6 health, I believe, on both sides. 4 threat, size 2, medium movement. So far, he's a little bit faster than regular Venom, and I believe he's going to be on a smaller base as well.
He's on a medium base.
Agent Venom's on a medium base?
Pretty certain, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, maybe not.
Is Venom on a medium base or a large base?
Venom's on a medium base.
Oh, nice.
For sure.
Okay.
It can be a little hard to tell in the image, but I feel like looking at it now, the picture they have in the panel to play, it kind of looks like a small base.
Just a real quick aside. So every time I go to take a drink from this protein drink,
oh, jeez,
it smells like pecans, and I don't know why.
That's kind of weird.
Huh. But, anywho, yeah. So, I think we're pretty excited for the stat line so far. His builder is actually kind of one of the things that makes him shine a little bit. I think, it's a physical attack, range 4, strength 5, the Clintar firepower. After this attack is resolved, he gains power equal to the damage dealt and bleed on a wild. So. It seems pretty straightforward at first, as far as 3s and 4s have a lot of strength 5 builders, but the range 4 aspect on there, on a slightly tankier character that has a decent amount of health and has a lot of other things going on, that's actually really solid.
Range 4 is awesome.
Right? Especially when you're talking about, granted, Agent Venom has had a number of weapons in his arsenal as far as, semi-automatic or pistols or rifles and whatnot, but I think that range 4 for that when a lot of other he is very clearly not using pistols in this particular version, or he's using some actual nice shield tech. It is a single handgun thing that's in his hand on the picture, but range 4 vastly superior to a lot of the Black Widows, Mystiques, Sins that all have that range 3 pistol shot with a rapid fire.
Yeah, because he's got the pistol, but he can hold it out with a tendril.
Oh, that's
true. He gets that much closer before he shoots it. That's why it's range 4.
That's very true. Or hold it up and point it. Yeah, you never know what gun's going to be firing when.
Also, I looked up on the Asmodee store image of the box, and he's definitely on a small base.
Okay.
So I thought he was on a medium base, and I was like, wow, he's so fast.
Right.
So he's a little bit slower than I thought, but not like an inch.
Yeah,
it's not that big of a deal, but yeah, just want to confirm he is on a small base because the same size base as Spider-Woman, we can pretty safely assume
reasonably. So we have Incendiary. Dan, read that one.
Incendiary grenade.
People believe that's all grenades.
So Incendiary grenade is pretty sweet one. It gives him an energy attack, which is nice. Range 3, strength 5, does cost 1 power. But after the attack is resolved, the target gets incinerate automatically. Love auto incinerate. And this we can directly compare to some other characters we've seen that have a very similar attack. Domino, Howling Commandos both have grenades, and they're all just the tiniest bit different.
They are, and I hadn't thought about that. And Dan and I were talking earlier, and he went through kind of a number of the other grenades, and they are in fact all different. So how does this compare to which one is this closest to? Dominoes or the Howling Commandos?
So Dominoes has better range with range 4.
Okay.
Also strength 4. His is strength 5.
Gotcha.
So trade off range for power.
Yeah.
It does cost 1 power. Hers is a grenade bounce though, so she ignores line of sight, and the defending character doesn't get cover, which Agent Venom doesn't get. She has auto incinerate as well, and she also has explosive on a wild, So before damage is dealt, other enemy characters within 2 of this target character suffer a damage. So hers, I think, is objectively better, even with that extra strength on Venom's.
Yeah, longer range and a whole bunch of extra stuff, bells and whistles. Yeah.
But I think his is still a great. Like, I'm going to be using that grenade pretty regularly for only 1 power.
And realistically, it's probably literally the same exact grenade. It's just, Domino has a bunch of powers to make lucky things happen.
Right, she's just lucky with it, and
Right.
and Flash Thompson just relying on his skill.
Flash Thompson over here, like, how'd you make that incendiary grade explode, though? That's the one thing they don't do.
And then compared to the Howling Commandos, they just have grenades! All caps with an exclamation point. Again, theirs auto incinerates is also range 3 like Agent Venom's. Theirs is only strength 4 though for 1 power. They don't get any of the bells and whistles that Domino's.
It was a different time,
Yeah, they're old school grenades.
Yeah.
So I don't want to compare them just to say, oh, this one's worse and that one's better, but just to, it's interesting that we have 3 characters that specifically have grenades that all work just a little. They're very similar, but they work all a little bit differently. And I think his is kind of middle of the road and a good attack.
Yeah. Yep. No.
For 1 power, I mean, auto doing incinerate for 1 power, and you could do some damage too.
Correct.
Great.
Well, and I think that you can make the argument about Domino's and Agent Venom's are at least in the same plane versus the Howling Commandos. They've just old people grenade. That's all. When they made incendiary grenades, they actually just put a bunch of fire in like a bean can and would throw it. And
I was going to say a pine cone.
Oh, that too.
Like Gandalf.
Right. Now his spender, and this is, or I guess his second spender. This one is awesome.
This is a great attack.
This is one of the ones that gets better the more you read it.
Yeah. For sure.
But Symbiote Special Forces.
Great name too.
Beam 3, Strength 7, 4 power.
Already good.
Already
like Strength
pretty solid.
7 beam?
Yep. Already pretty solid. Now, on a wild and a hit, it has Lashing Tendrils, where after each attack is resolved, deal 1 damage to each other enemy character within 2 of this character. So we've seen this similar to, I believe, is it Sinister's Spender? Where if he triggers a certain thing, characters trigger extra damage around them.
Sounds familiar.
Or something along those lines. This can be incredible. This is a beam that's already pretty strong to start. Granted, it is physical. But if you line up 3 people that are close to one another, all of them doing 1 damage to everyone else as well, this can be devastating.
Well, they don't do damage to each other. They deal damage to each other enemy character within 2 of this character.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
So he almost has like a beam that's also an area effect. Because he's hitting those in a beam and those next to him.
And depending on how many attacks he could get off, he could be doing, 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4. That's excessive, but damage to anyone around range 2 of them?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So the first one in the beam is almost certainly going to get hit with Lashing Tendrils every time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, maybe 1 or 2 other people.
Wow.
But anytime you're dealing additional damage, especially to somebody you're not targeting, is so good. And it does need a wild and a hit, but you're rolling 7 dice.
Yeah.
So the chances of getting that is pretty good.
And if you're on Guardians,
winging
he seems
it,
like an obvious
he's gonna love winging it.
Yep.
For real. Let's see if he's on shield. That won't help him.
No.
Web Warriors. He's gonna love all webbed up in this.
Oh yeah. A 9 strength B3 for 4 with explosions off of each one. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anything. So yeah. If you're spending the power to do this, which is going to be one of those that I see this being like a once a game kind of thing, if that, where you get it lined up just right and you're hitting 2 or 3 people and lashing into a couple others.
Yeah.
Because he has a lot of really good stuff to spend power on, starting with the grenade.
Alyssa said that they all shop at different grenade stores, which absolutely is probably a valid point. So,
I think it's a good spender.
Not only that, but he is medium movement, so he's already got a stellar chance of being where he needs to line up. He's got wall crawler to get him there as well. But with symbiote web swing as his first superpower within a place within range 3, for only 2 power, the odds of him being able to get where he needs to be, maybe even getting an attack off or something, and then setting up a really nice beam with that symbiote special forces, I think. This is absolutely just, the more I read this character, I'm like, wow, that's really good.
Right?
Wow, that's really good.
Imagine he's got stacked on power. Maybe he's taking some damage, couple turns in, you haven't really done anything yet. He's got 7 power on him.
Mm-hmm.
You symbiote web swing into a great position.
Yep.
Lob a grenade at one person to get incinerate on him, and then symbiote special forces to just wreck a couple faces.
Yep.
He can be nasty. He's a good combination. Like the symbiote web swing makes him a pretty sweet combination of Venom and Spider-Man.
Yes. Yep. So tell me about some Project Rebirth.
Oh,
I don't want to hear about 1.0, 1.5, or 1.7 EX. I only want to hear about 2.0.
Oh, okay. 2.0. This is another superpower. He has an active superpower for 1 power. Remove a special condition.
Yeah, straight up.
That's it. You
Yep.
can do this multiple times a turn. If he's got a bunch of crap on him you don't want him to have,
Mm-hmm.
just keep using Project Rebirth 2.0. Get rid of those conditions. Bleed? Who knows? Who cares about bleed?
Right. Yeah, no one.
Stagger? I don't care about
Does.
stagger.
Well, you do, because when you start your turn, I believe you have to use your. I don't think
Your
you,
first action. You can do superpowers before you do an
you
action.
can. All right.
Right? So
I think so.
he can just get rid of stagger before he does anything for 1 power.
I thought there's something in the back of my head, and maybe this was a misunderstanding that we had about it, where I thought like you couldn't get rid of stagger with Winter Guard.
I don't see why not.
Okay.
The stagger just specifies the first
Oh, the
action
first-
you take has to be to shrug, to shake off the condition.
Okay. My
Right,
assumption
so-
was that you were forced to take an action and to get rid of the condition, but
I think we just usually play it that way because
Yeah.
there's not that many ways to just get rid of conditions outside of that. Because I feel like, I'm pretty sure Thor's leadership works for it as well.
yeah, it is at the start.
Well,
of the
because you can
character's
do that.
activation.
It doesn't have to be your activation to use that leadership anyway.
Okay, you can get rid of the stagger. All right. I
Yeah.
don't know why I was thinking that. It was just maybe it was something that came up at.
But it's
yeah.
like, oh, someone incinerated him to get him down to 1 energy defense.
Right.
And like, nope, not anymore.
Correct.
I love this one, and the fact that it costs 1 is just nice.
Mhm.
He might be a little power hungry, but
Yeah.
I think with Clintar firepower and a later innate power, he's not going to have too much trouble generating power.
In addition to that, we have All-Star Quarterback. This is actually a really solid throw. Enemy character or terrain feature, which
Yeah.
become, we've talked about since the initial release or the first wave of characters has become increasingly more rare to be able to throw both, especially at size 3.
Yeah,
Has to be within range 2, so it's got to be close to him for him to pick it up, but then he can throw it short.
not bad at all.
Solid, really good.
It's just,
Yep.
we love throws here.
Especially when you think about just the turn efficiency that you have, we see characters like Rogue, right? They have a charge and the mutant absorption.
Oh,
and
yeah.
can make 2 attacks, one being part of the charge. We love characters that get additional movement and attacks and things to do on their activation that aren't actions,
Especially for a 4 threat.
especially for a 4 threat. So the fact that he has a range 3 place, which I believe is a medium movement, effectively. He has the throw, and he has potentially a couple beams, maybe, or 1 beam a turn, and then another attack. I mean, this is an incredibly efficient character.
He's going to have long turns once he
Yes.
gets some power.
Yep.
He's going to be doing a lot of things.
And yes, he is someone you want power on. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who else can give him power?
I mean, the usual affiliations, A-Force, and
Yeah, I think he works great in Avengers for sure, but everyone does for the most part.
Yeah, Steve's Avengers. Who's not,
Correct.
who doesn't benefit.
There
from
are
it.
a couple characters that are like they have no way to spend power in their powers, but yeah, they're very few and far between.
Like Lizard doesn't benefit as much as others because
It's like Okoye,
1
it's like
power.
you're just innates or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah. There's very few. I just love how much he can do on his turn.
And here's the big deal about
But
him
you're
too.
still going?
Yeah, so he has Wall Crawler, which I touched on very briefly, and we're going to be talking about Wall Crawler a lot in a couple weeks. The week of Adepticon, we're going to have a special guest on talking about terrain and how it affects flight characters and Wall Crawler characters. And if you've been on any of the message boards or Facebook groups at all, you might know who this is. But I'm very excited to finally be able to record an episode of Wait Did I Roll Wild with him.
The week of LVO, you meant.
Yeah, what'd I say?
You said Adepticon.
Oh yeah, listen,
That's months away.
I've got Adepticon on the brain.
Yeah, right.
And by the way, if you weren't aware yet, registration for Adepticon and for those events goes up Sunday. This Sunday, I think it's at 2 p.m. Central Time.
Sunday.
There are limited tickets for certain events. Make sure you get them while you can. Shout out to Ben, who thought when it said 63 out of 64 that meant there were 63 tickets left last
Oh
year.
wait, you thought
It was that's how many were sold. It's a start point of 0. So if there's a number as the first number, that means that's how many of those tickets sold.
okay.
Which that's a mistake that should be, is easy to make. Hi, Mitch. But Ben, sorry. Ugh, dude. It's been a long week.
Hey.
Been a long week. But make sure you get your tickets soon. If you want the VIG, I would highly suggest it. It is probably it is always an incredible value. If you check out the YouTube, there's a link right down below. There was an episode of Wait Did I Roll a While that we streamed from Adepticon when we went through last year's VIG bag.
Yeah.
It is a ton of stuff.
Hundreds of dollars.
If you are into miniature wargaming at all, you are going to receive some really high-end stuff, some really niche stuff, some really cool stuff. It is just get it. Don't hesitate. Get the VIG. It's a great bag, and you will not regret it. But throughout the week, there's going to be events Wednesday to Sunday. Every day that week, there's going to be stuff going on. Yep.
Whoa.
Yep. So I'll confirm those dates again really quick. But I believe What If will be on Wednesday. Maybe this Thursday. Nuts.
Wednesday seems really early.
That's what I thought too, but I think it's the 20... dude, I'm getting all my conventions mixed up.
There's a lot of stuff coming.
And Adepticon's kind of a big one. But, yeah, so it starts, I believe, the 23rd? Or is that LVO later this month? March 22nd.
Oh, you were very close.
Yeah, it's in the ballpark. When is March 22nd? Apparently I don't have a calendar on my computer no more.
Yeah, where'd it go?
I don't know. I hit this and it goes to whatever. Okay, cool.
Yeah, today's Tuesday.
Oh, there we go. So March 22nd is in fact the Wednesday. So if I'm recalling this correctly, Wednesday is What If. Thursday is Team Affiliation Battle.
Cool.
Friday, maybe nuts. Yeah, I think I am getting this wrong. Let's look at the events at adepticon.org. If there was a place to do that, I think it might be the time now.
While you're looking it up, the last thing we didn't quite get to on Agent Venom's card is his first innate is symbiotic instincts. Similar we see this on Venom and Carnage. While this character is attacking, the defending character cannot modify their defense dice. So no rerolls, no and stuff, which makes his attacks a bit more efficient.
Correct. Well, and not only that, but like Venom has that on just his builder. Agent Venom has that on everything.
I thought Venom had that. I thought it was all of his attacks.
I believe it's just symbiote tendrils. I don't think it's the other ones. So on the event schedule, so yeah, look that up quick because I think that could be.
Yeah, it's the same in symbiotic instincts.
Okay, I was thinking there's Marvel trivia on Wednesday night.
That sounds fun.
Right? It's at 10 o'clock. So it's like, especially if you're going to be there like Thursday or whatever, I think it'll be really fun. I would highly suggest checking that out. There's also going to be a content creators meet and greet, I believe that night as well.
Ooh.
So What If is Thursday at 8 a.m. There's only 16 tickets for that. So that's higher than the amount they had last year. I think they only did it with 8.
That sounds
and
right.
Initially it was only going to be 12, but they didn't have all the models available in time. Most of, if not all of the models will be available this time. So I believe we can do a 16 pod for that.
Nice.
Which will be awesome.
Love the What If event where you draft.
Correct.
From the model. So once somebody takes Kingpin, he's gone. No one else can use him. And then everybody counts as whatever your first leader you take is your affiliation. And whoever else you take counts as being a member of that affiliation for like tactics cards and everything. It's such a cool format.
So Alyssa says, by the way, I made a Tim style list today. It renamed unnamed though. I'm curious if you can figure out the theme. I actually like this a lot. I like little puzzles. Kingpin, Luke Cage, Wong,
Okay.
Drax, Nebula, Ancient One, Supergiant,
Love it.
Red Skull, Cassandra Nova, and Scourge.
Nice.
What do you
It's
think?
so good.
What do you think the style?
It's Tim themed, so what do all those characters have in common?
Should this be obvious?
Yeah, I had it after the second one, and then the third one confirmed it for me.
Kingpin. Oh.
The way you literally deflated.
Oh.
What's the theme, Tim? She said it.
Shut it. All caps too. Yeah, they're all bald. They're all
So
bald.
good.
Oh, that's really good actually. I really appreciate that. So affiliation battle will also be on Thursday. So if you don't get the tickets for the What If event, once again, I would highly suggest it. The affiliation battle will also be Thursday. There's only 32 tickets for that. And what that is effectively it is a standard kind of a tournament, except your entire roster can only exist off of the affiliation list of one affiliation. No splashes, 0 splashes. Rogue agents count. So you can have Taskmaster or a Bucky in there to kind of flesh it out. But your roster of 10, if you can use 10, is only one affiliation.
Sorry, Ben and Winterguard.
They're correct.
They can take 6 with the 2 rogue agents.
That's true. So there are a couple really cool prizes for this as well, where they normally give best theme or best X-Men player, best Avengers, best Black Order, etc. So and all of these tournaments are going to be using the standard timeline event rules as well,
which is expected for tournaments. It makes sense.
Correct. So those are
Sorry, drop
Thursday's events. Then on Friday, also AMG is going to be running a whole bunch of organized play kits as well throughout the weekend. Every day there's at least 2 or 3. So they'll be running Mutant Masterworks and Vibranium Heist, the Hulk one, the Unstoppable Colossus, Sentinels Attack Chicago, which I believe is a new one.
Yeah, that hasn't come out yet.
So that one...
that's exciting.
That one's at 6 p.m., I believe, Thursday. Yes.
I know there's been talk of a Sentinels OP kit for like a year.
It was like
now.
listed on something like a ways back, I feel like.
It was on like a product release forever ago. Like when around not long after the Magneto one came out, I feel like.
Correct. I think it was right before the Magneto one because we all thought it was the Magneto one.
Right. And then it just disappeared.
Correct.
So I wonder if it was something got caught up with production of it or whatever, and then they just
very well
to sit on
been.
it for a while, or had to wait till Sentinels came out.
So then Friday is the team up challenge. This is actually really cool. The way they did this last year. So this is a team event where you both bring your rosters, but when you field your squads, you build that one squad out of both of your rosters for the same threat value. If it is going to be done like it was last year, I believe every crisis had effectively got a free Hulk.
Yeah, it was 6 more threat.
Yes.
Which was a bit much, I felt. Like hopefully they...
I felt
like I like the idea of having a little bit more, but maybe plus like 3 or 4, not
plus
6.
4. I mean, it's difficult because one of the things... So we did see a lot of Juggernauts and Hulks in that one.
Yeah.
But maybe with the bottom being brought up, that there's no more 14 threat crisis. It's going to be 15 minimum. I think 4 or 5 could do. I like the 6, though. I think this is supposed to be as many characters on the field.
I liked it, except it made it so games couldn't complete as often because they just took a lot longer.
That's fair. So they did increase the time for it as well. It was a 2-hour round versus an hour and a half. And when you think about that relatively that should track where you're playing for whatever it is, a third longer, average mission 17 or 18, so 6 more threat would be a third of that. So it should correspond pretty well. But yeah, literally everything can always use a little bit more fine tuning. But that's Friday. Saturday is going to bring the Challenger events. That's going to be the big 2-day event. I believe it's 128 tickets for that. It is going to be a big, massive tournament.
I like that.
So make sure to get in on that one. And if you are going to, you do not have to buy a ticket for day 2. So you only have to buy the day 1 ticket because if you make cuts and you go to day 2, you're already considered logged in.
Nice.
And then finally Sunday, in addition to the championship for the Challenger tournament, there's also going to be a 3-box challenge. So there's always going to be something to do literally every day of that week. We'll be there all week, all weekend, streaming everything as well. Legion Worlds is going to be happening, as well as Armada and X-Wing. Shatterpoint might show up. You never know. Actually, yes,
We know they're doing demos.
We know they're doing demos.
Very exciting.
Sign up for those. Those are going to be limited run. D&D Onslaught's going to be there as well. There's like a whole ton of stuff that's going to be happening at Adepticon this year.
Again, if you're into miniature wargaming at all, it's going to be there.
Yeah.
Adepticon is a blast.
There's incredible burger places. Kuma's Corner is like
I need to go
literally the
this time.
best thing in the world.
2-hour wait.
2-hour wait.
Should have just waited because it wasn't even 2 hours.
We should have. Listen, Nate got in there and got that chicken and waffles burger that night. He just had the patience. We didn't.
I want that chicken and waffles burger.
It's so
bad.
good. It's so good. It
Getting
literally
it this
changed my
time.
life. Literally changed my life.
For the better?
I don't know. Well, I'm sure you're still out on that one, but yeah. So make sure to check out all of that stuff. It's going to be really good. Once again, registration goes live Sunday. Get your tickets early. There is a ton. There's 620 events throughout the week.
Just a few.
There are awesome painting things. The Worthy is going to be there, and that's going to be a huge deal. The prize for that, I believe, is literally a 17-ton Odin. I'm joking, but like not really.
It's a
But
really cool looking statue
it's
for
a
sure.
really awesome statue. I shared today on the Facebook Dallas's post about the path to the Worthy, and I would highly suggest taking it out. We have a lot of really good painters in this particular community, and I hope to see a lot of you there. So moving on from that, we're also at LVO later this month. This one's the one that's on the 23rd through the weekend. There's going to be a lot of events as well there. They are running all sorts of additional pods. There might be some brackets and some stuff that we're going to do as well. Make sure to check out Omnis Protocol if you are looking for more information on that, because him and Tyson have been doing a lot of the legwork and groundwork for all the MCP stuff there. So make sure to check that out for more information. In addition to that, they're also building in a lot of extra time in between rounds for us to be able to interview people that were in the previous round, kind of get some of where their heads at and what they were thinking and some of the, the big upsets and things along those lines, in addition to running a bunch of other pods throughout the day for the people that aren't performing either particularly well or can't be there the whole weekend or have other events that they want to do. So a bunch of really cool stuff at LVO happening as well. But the second half of the show today, outside of Agent Venom, where do we see Agent Venom fitting in outside of probably the three that we expect him to be in?
The same ones that everybody else fits in.
Shield, Guardians, and Web Warriors. Where do we want to put him, though?
I mean, Steve Avengers is an obvious one just because he has a lot of good superpowers that are already fairly cheap. And just knocking, like Symbiote Wem Swing, cutting that in half from 2 to 1 is huge.
Yep.
Getting his throw down to 2. Most throws cost 3, so getting any throw down to 2 is massive. So he can benefit from that leadership a lot. He's one of those characters that he doesn't have just like one thing that's reducing the power. He can benefit from it
Multiple times a turn, potentially.
Well, he can only benefit it from it once a turn.
Oh, yeah.
It opens, I was thinking that too for a second. It's been so long since we actually used Steve, but he can benefit from that to allow him to do more things in his turn. I really like.
So this might
Brotherhood.
be. Yeah. I don't think Brotherhood. I don't know if that's. Yeah, I guess I don't hate
Just
that.
because, like, he can benefiting from getting power from the leadership ability is huge.
Yep. So one thing that I kind of, and I'm just double checking the ability to make sure it happens. Yeah, it's before choosing an attack. So I like him in Defenders.
Okay.
Okay. Not being, or I mean, just in general, being able to make use of the portal just to kind of get to the front line a little bit earlier, in addition to the Mystic Empowering or Mystic Empowerment. Being able to spend 1 power on your spender to have that beam turn into a mystic or energy attack.
Oh, that could really mess up some.
Right? Things. Yeah. So I do really like that. In addition to keeping him a little topped off because he's not squishy, but he doesn't have a lot defensively that's going to keep him around.
No.
He has a high physical defense and a decent amount of stamina, but he could use a little backup between Wong and Doctor Strange, making sure that he's healed up and
Yeah,
fit.
for real. Because unlike the other symbiotes, he doesn't have any healing abilities at all.
Yeah. Yep. And Defenders has a lot of 2s and 3s. Maybe just 3s is what I meant by that. But he has a bunch of 2s in there, or 3s. Dude, it's been a long week, man.
I guess so.
It's been a long week. But yeah, a bunch of 3s in there, so a 4 isn't necessarily out of order.
No.
Like Ben said in chat, that 4s in Brotherhood is a incredibly competitive spot.
Absolutely.
Especially to add in another physical damage dealer. Granted, he's very mobile and has a lot going on, and not being able to reroll defense against him is also awesome. I like him in Wild Hunt, which is probably something no one has ever said anyway. Being able to get that extra power, movement, and health off of dazing and KOing your opponents he might not even need the power to be web swinging around if he's constantly being able to move, take the edge off with a little bit of healing, and get more power. I mean, there's a lot going on there for him, and he doesn't necessarily care that affiliation ability can't let him get rid of special conditions like Sam's can.
Yeah, because he can do it anyway.
He can just do it anyway.
I also like him a lot. I just you said Wild Hunt made me think of Dark Dimension.
Yeah,
because
he's
not going to worry too much about having too much power on him, because he's going to be spending it constantly. Like just being able to web swing every turn, guaranteed every turn.
Yeah,
just that alone is pretty huge.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I like that a lot.
Ooh, I like him in Dark Dimension a lot now. More I think about it, yeah.
And once again, another affiliation where you're running usually just a bunch of 2s and 3s. So having Dormammu and him at 12, and then filling in however many 2s and 3s you need to get the rest done.
Yeah.
And we've seen Dark Dimension perform recently as well.
See how good it can be.
So I like that a lot. Now, on his flip side, I don't believe he changes at all, but
I don't think there's any changes.
He should. Ben made the joke earlier in the chat. We've certainly been making the joke. I think a lot of people have, but there was certainly an opportunity here to have Agent Venom have maybe 7 health on his healthy side, and then on his flip, go back to legless Flash Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
Have him laying down on the side, you know what I mean? Like battle worn a little bit with like a knife and a gun. Like I actually really dig that. Like that, like, you know, that war movie, like he's lost the power suit, he's lost the thing that like made him super strong or whatever, and he's gonna get the job done anyway.
I feel like he would have to be a lot better on his healthy side to still be a 4 threat.
Yeah, probably. 3 or 4 stamina on the flip, short mover, and just some pistol shots. You know, or something along those lines.
I do like the idea of him losing the suit.
Yeah.
Or like it's too weakened when he flips. I think that could have made him a really unique character.
Yes. Yep.
I see why they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because then it makes him. I feel like you wouldn't see him as often because he would have such a downside when he flips.
Yeah. I mean, we see Hulkbuster, similar effect, right?
Yeah.
And you could even add in an effect too there where Venom does come back after it recovers a little bit or something. But yeah, obviously, yeah, I think that would have been a long shot to say that was going to be in there, but it would have been fun. Yeah. So those are the, what are you thinking for Team Tactics cards for him?
I don't know enough about the character. I kind of want more to do with his, because we so often see him with all the crazy tendrils coming out.
Yes.
Kind of like Carnage, but not usually stabbing people, but using them. Like he's got the web swing for it.
I would like
something else with that.
A single-use tactics card that gives him an attack where he can make a Clintar firepower attack, maybe at range 3 or something instead of 4. At everyone within range.
Just
effectively like an A3 like gunshot thing where he is using all those tendrils to shoot in every different direction or whatever.
Sure.
Maybe
sounds awesome.
Yeah. Alyssa's spot on too. We need another brace for impact. So that could absolutely go in there. But yeah, maybe something like a pretty sneaky sis, but self. So he pays to have a range 2 stealth just for himself for 1 round.
I'm a little surprised he doesn't have stealth.
Yeah. I mean, he's guns a-blazing. I guess so is Mystique to a certain extent, and she has stealth.
Just because like he's wearing that tactical black.
Yeah.
You know, he's got that look where he's like sneaking around until he doesn't have to, and then he goes Venom. So maybe I like the idea of a tactics card that gives him like awesome stealth for a round.
Yeah.
You know, we had to be within range 2 to target him.
Maybe we'll see a new all webbed up.
I mean, he could, because he could come with Web Warrior card. He could come with a Guardians card. He could come with Shield cards. Like he could add more to any of those affiliations, which sounds great.
Yep.
I mean, Shield doesn't really need it, but it's always good to get more options, even though they already had 10 Tactics cards come with Fury Jr.
Correct.
Web Warriors, frankly, could use some more Tactics cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually,
I know especially people love Web Warriors because people love Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And like they've been having the same Tactics card for a long time. So if he had anything to mix that up a bit, I'm sure people would really appreciate.
Yep. Spider Tracker, I think he's going to make some good use of. But Ravensguard says Tim plays too much Overwatch if he wants Reaper's ult. That's actually exactly what I'm thinking. I mean, like, legitimately, it's just a Reaper ult. Just firing in every direction, spinning around, doing a pirouette at the end. Like, yeah, 100%. I think that's actually a great visualization of what I was thinking. But yeah, I think we're going to be in a good spot with him. I'm really excited to see what comes in that box as far as Tactics cards. I actually don't think the Tactics cards are going to focus on him as heavily as they will Spider-Woman.
Yeah, you got to remember he's not in his own box.
Where I think, as far as messing with some of the pheromone stuff and the Venom, like she has a lot that they could make some really cool Tactics cards off of. Even like another Deception or like a different style of like Mystique's Deception would actually be really cool for Spider-Woman.
Yeah, she's got a lot going on that they can do crazy stuff with her powers and Tactics cards.
So, moving on from Agent Venom.
No.
Okay, also
fine.
fair.
Okay, fine. Convince me.
Really thought we're trying to think of some cool ways to maybe implement shape-shifting or character copying for characters like Copycat, Mimic, to a lesser extent Morph. How you could really
Mr. Impossible.
Mr. Impossible. No.
What?
Isn't Mr. Impossible the flat guy from the Great Lakes Avengers?
No, it's Flat Man.
Oh. That makes sense.
I just made that up. I think that might be his name. Mr. Impossible's a Fantastic Four character. He's green, got a cone head.
Sounds awful.
There's actually an Exiles issue where they have to like stop a Mr. Impossible, and Morph and him get into a thing, and Mr. Impossible just makes fun of Morph because he's not a good shapeshifter compared to Mr. Impossible, because he can turn into whatever. Like he can turn into a car, and it's got a full working engine and everything.
Oh, really?
Whereas morphs into a car and he just looks like a car. And they had to like,
okay.
He was like pushing Morph, and it was kind of a cool issue where it was character development for Morph, which we don't see very often.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of like he was realizing, I think it pushed him to make his morphing abilities a little bit better.
Yeah, I dig that.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah. So how do you anticipate seeing like power copying or shape shifting?
So there's a couple ways they could go with this.
Yeah.
We've seen a little bit with Mystique's shape-shifting, where it's just a reactive superpower, right? Yep. Where if she's attacking enemy models within 3 of her,
I think
can't use reactives.
I think it's just enemy models. It might be within range 3 of her, but yeah. On her activation, you can't use team tactics cards or reactives.
Right. Yeah, no range. Yeah, just during her activation. That's what it is.
Which, I mean, and we've seen some great use out of the tactics cards thing, because you can't brace against a juggernaut. Do you know who I am on Mystique's turn to throw someone into someone else?
So brutal.
Right?
It's one of those that, like, I feel like it makes sense.
Yeah.
I get what they're going for with it. I constantly forget she has this power. I never apply it in game because I always forget about it. So I feel like for shape-shifting or copying, like Mimic, one of my favorites. Again, his run on Exiles is so good.
Mm-hmm.
You could just do straight up, you pay X power. You can use like another character's attack that's like, for Mimic, like within range 2 or 3, because he needs to be near them to mimic their powers.
Yeah.
So he could just literally copy a power or an attack from their card. Superpower, that gets a little wonky, I think.
Yeah, that I think is certainly where it could get out of hand. I think regardless of how it's done, you ignore innates.
Yeah.
Like I think because those are really integral to a character that they're not like a laser beam out of your eyes or
Right. Which
something
I
like
think
that.
somebody like Mimic would make more sense to copy just attacks.
Yeah.
Because they can have a bunch of added stuff, but it's not like, oh, now he's going to move and gain 3 power.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. Yep.
like that can totally break a character by copying the superpowers. I think attacks make a lot of sense there. And I like the idea of it being limited within a range.
Yep.
So, like, that's one way they could do it. Or I feel like they could go a little less gimmicky, more like Mystique's. And it's like, okay, so something like Morph. He's shape-shifting as he's attacking you, so it's hard to react to him. So it's a lot like the symbiote instincts, where you
Oh
don't get
yeah.
to modify your defense dice against the shapeshifter attack.
Okay. I like that. My thought would be to like for a character like Mimic who's stealing specific people's powers. Now, just canonically, I'm pretty familiar with him from the Exiles. He didn't like remove people's powers while he
No,
had them, right? He could just copy them.
He copied it, and it
Okay.
was lesser.
Yeah, because you can only have like so many at a time or something like
5.
that. It was always one thing. So the way I would like to see it done is with tokens, where
Okay.
Mimic can put a token on another character, and those are the specific abilities he can choose from. So reactives, superpowers, maybe it's more than one token. Maybe it's one for attacks and one for superpowers and reactives, or it's just one ability that you're taking from them.
Okay.
But I think that that's the way to do it because then you have to be within range. You're spending some form of resource to be able to copy it versus something that's just kind of like always on within an area of them. Because I think, I really like that. I really like this. He can use any attack of someone within range 3 of them as long as he pays 2 power. That's probably a really simple way to be able to do it. But I don't know. I want to put tokens. I want little Mimic tokens that I put on people. I'm like, no, I yoinked your stuff, and now you can't use it, even if you go away, because there's one of those. I don't want the counterplay to a character like Mimic to be like, oh well, I'll just
Run away from him.
run away from him.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate. The other thing is with Mimic, they could go a totally different route and just like the original Mimic we saw had all the powers of the 5 original X-Men. Right? He had really big hands and feet. He had wings, feathered wings. He had the eye blast. He had a little bit of telekinesis, and he had a little bit of ice control.
Yeah.
So he had all their powers, just all of them were a little bit less. So we could just see that Mimic.
That's true.
He might not even have the power stealing.
Or same with like
thing.
that super, or like the OG Super Scroll could be just the Super Scroll that had the Fantastic Force powers, outside of all the other ones that they made that were part Iceman and part Pyro, or that was a pretty basic example, but
still it works. I like that you included Iceman. I appreciate that.
Listen, I do what I can. That'll be the first time you see him in this game. So it's on Super Scroll
as
and Mimic.
Super Scroll. But I could also see like Mimic specifically because I just think he's super cool.
Yeah.
We could see like sort of like Moon Knight. Where maybe not rolling for it, but he has like a list of things he can choose from.
Yeah.
Maybe more like Vision's different phasing.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, this turn, do you want this set of powers or do you want this set of powers? Because he's got teammates around him all the time, right? He can be, have it absorb powers from them already, potentially. So they could simplify it to where you just have a choice of a couple different things.
I would love to see a tactics card from Mimic.
Okay.
Where he blows the tactics card, in that round he can he can make use of the abilities from the enemy's affiliation.
Ooh.
Right? Or
I
something
like that a lot.
Yeah.
I was also thinking you could have some kind of sort of like a transform mechanic where his card is like Miss Marvel's, where there's 2 different versions of healthy and injured, where it's like, okay, this turn I want to use this version of Mimic, where he's absorbing these different powers. Might not represent exactly what's on the table.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine. But technically, if you want to get real fluffy, Mimic can only mimic the powers of mutants.
Yes.
So, like, he can't mimic, the Thing's rocks.
Correct.
He can't take Captain America's strength.
Right. All right.
Because, like, he can mimic Wolverine and get his healing factor and bone claws.
But not his adamantium skeleton.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Now, for someone like Morph, I guess the way I would like to see it is kind of similar to what you said about the symbiote tendrils. I think there's room to work with something similar to maybe even having stars or ones as defense dice, but it mirroring the opponent's best defense or something along those lines in that particular category.
He just gets the same number of defense dice as you had
Of attack dice?
Attack dice.
It's like that -1 or something like that.
He just mimics your strength. Oh, you have a strength 6 mystic attack? Well, I have 6 mystic defense. This is so weird.
That's so weird.
I guess that would be more
That's right.
Darwin.
I morphed myself into 2 brains in there. So
Right.
which one are you going to attack? It's not even the good one.
We'll save that one for Darwin.
Yes.
Because that's literally his power, right? To adapt to
Correct.
things that are happening to him, but then he dies anyway.
Yeah, he only has 3 strength attacks, but like he always copies the strength of the attack coming into him in defense dice.
Who can roll better?
Listen, I mean, random could be something similar there too.
I
Where
love Random. He just
Right?
looks so cool. He's so 80s.
I think random is a great character to utilize that vision thing, where like you have +4 to a single defense, but you have to choose what you're doing in that round, and you can pay to flip it, as a reactive, but. Because, I mean, we have seen random go down that way, and there was too much happening, too many different types of attacks.
He just couldn't react fast.
I need to have a jelly body or a hard body or...
I like Random a lot.
Same.
I got a gun arm now. He's got that 90s bandana. Oh, he's so good. Oh, he's wearing sunglasses.
But it's one of those things where, like, like I talked about at the top of the show, when Mystique first came out, I was like, oh, man, she doesn't really have the shape-shifty stuff. But... she ends up being a really good narrative character anyway, especially after playing her a bunch. It's like, this is the Mystique. She's wandering through up in there, and you can't really do anything as she's doing that. She has deception, which is spot on. And I think maybe sometimes the way to make that type of really specific stuff work is with tactics cards. Though I would love to be, as Mimic, putting tokens on people and just yoinking their powers.
Yo, give me that.
Yeah.
Whatever. Give me that optic blast.
I don't think we've even seen...
Give me that tornado claw.
Tornado claw! Have we seen power blocking where you can turn off powers outside of, the power phase where if any of these powers actually come to be, I'm sure Alyssa
Doesn't Cassandra Nova have something like that?
You know what? I thought about that too. I don't believe so.
Thinking with her.
A power...
I mean, Root...
Yeah, Ravensguard, absolutely. Chat would ban something like, you know what I mean? It'd be like playing competitive Pokemon, and I send out a Ditto, and then chat bans Transform.
Yeah. Maybe it's not Cassandra. No. Well, like, Jean can stop you from moving people. What is it? No More Mutants or Shh are good examples of turning powers off. They're super few and far between.
Yeah, and rightfully so, and both Shh and No More Mutants are just reactives, I believe, right? And it's just that instance of the reactive is denied. But yeah, I think there's a lot of really cool things there, and I think AMG usually proves itself actually very competent in coming up with ways to make that type of mechanic work. I've just always been super curious how they would do that with specific characters like power stealing and things like that. Or maybe eventually seeing a leech like from the Morlocks or something, like, and how that would affect things. You just don't get your reactives and superpowers at all. You just can't use them within range 3 of Leech.
No thanks.
I think that makes sense for Leech.
Yeah, but he's super squishy. You just have to hit him from range and he goes down.
Yeah, he's 2 threat, and you give him an orange, he'll go away.
Have you gone up against a Leech in Marvel Snap yet?
I have.
He's the worst.
It's never affected me too bad, thankfully. But
brutal.
Listen,
all the cards in your hand don't have abilities anymore. Well, what's the point of playing then?
It's like, oh man, the 6 Sentinel's still in my hand because all I do is play Sentinels.
Yeah, unless you got Patriot and you're going for a non-power deck.
Patriot, I don't.
So Patriot's ability is that all cards that don't have any power, have any abilities on their card, get +1 or 2 strength.
Oh, okay.
So he actually makes Cyclops decent.
I think I've seen a what do they call them? Zones or territories? What are the 3 things in the middle called?
Locations.
Locations. I think I've seen a location like that. That was like,
yeah, Washington D.C.
Yeah, people without abilities get like plus whatever power.
+2 or 3, yeah.
Dude,
and I'm like, that's dumb. I want abilities.
Love throwing Nightcrawler out at first in the middle, and then just one of those locations comes up that's like, oh, we give power to someone every round. It's like, oh, well, I'll just leave you over there for a little while.
I'm going over there now.
Boop.
I just double checked. No More Mutants is active or reactive superpowers.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I don't know. I just want to be able to. We had Rogue as well, right? Who's able to take powers, and they made a tactics card with it where she can borrow stuff specifically from the X-Men.
How did I forget that one?
And I think that was kind of the opposite way. We saw that on the attacks, right? So her absorbing strike could go as physical or energy, and maybe that's not a good example of why that could go physical or energy, but
that's specific to her, where she could punch you or she could just touch you and take your power.
Yeah.
But I think that tactics card with Rogue is cool, but it's just so specific.
Yes.
And the text on it is so long that I'm lazy and don't want to read all that. I want it to be,
because I would love to, like I said, to play Mimic, put him in the middle, put a token on Taskmaster, and be able to use photogenic reflexes.
Yeah, that sounds
like
awesome.
While that token's on, like one reactive or one superpower or one of each or something along those lines.
The thing is, AMG is one of the few companies that makes miniature games that I would trust to get this right.
Yeah.
And make it mechanically sound, like lore sound, without being overly complicated, but also not too like dumbed down.
Correct.
I want it simplified enough that it's not 3 pages of text to get through this one thing, but it also needs to fit the narrative, which can be so difficult, and they definitely do it way more often than they don't.
Correct. Yeah, 100%. I think you're spot on too with the like having a specific edition of Mimic where he has flight because he has the angel wings, and maybe just that particular Mimic from that particular timeline from that particular setup, I think would probably be the way to go with it.
And since they're focusing on like 90s X-Men, I will be surprised if we see Mimic.
Yeah,
I'd like to. I think he's a super cool character and super underutilized. Just read the first.
I just really want an Exiles group.
Yeah, just read the first 50 or so issues of Exiles until Chris Claremont takes over, and then don't bother with it anymore. Just the Judd Winnick run, the original, is so good.
I don't think I got into it early. I think I got into it later when it was like Sabretooth and Blink.
That was kind of intermixed. There was the other team at the same time that was Weapon X that was led by Sabretooth. That was that was from the same Age of Apocalypse. Like Age of Apocalypse Sabretooth, just like Blink is, but Morph isn't. He's a different universe Morph, which is a cool little interaction. But
I think I read some that had Deadpool and She-Hulk in it as well.
They were part of that Weapon X team.
Oh, okay.
For a while.
So I think that's the one I'm familiar with.
I love that run so much. I cited it on this show a bunch of times.
Oh yeah. Well, and so like Dan said, go and read the first 50 episodes. We'll wait.
I also have them all in trade if you want to borrow them.
Oh, nice. So go ahead and send us a return box to P.O. Box G, West Oneonta, New York, 13861, and maybe Dan will put those trades in there and send them to you.
Man, I got to reread them first.
Well, you have Marvel Digital Comics Unlimited, too.
Oh, yeah.
I just renewed it. I got hit with the credit card charge. I was like, what was that? I was like, checked, and I was like, oh, that's fair. That's a really good value.
Oh, yeah, that's why I paid for that.
But, guys, I think that's going to be it for us for now. Make sure to check us out. Follow us right here. We really appreciate everyone that gives us, the old Twitch subs, likes, follows. Listen, it all helps. 5-star reviews on Audible, Spotify, Apple Podcasts also help out a ton. Our King Dean Doppeldongers and our professional cake sitters, as well as everyone over at the Patreon. Subbing here or subscribing over at the Patreon get you access to the Discord as well, in addition to all sorts of other content. All sorts of behind-the-scenes stuff, access to the cleanup phase, which is a Marvel Crisis Protocol themed behind-the-scenes show that happens once a month on the Patreon. Additional episodes of every other podcast, episodes a week early of all the podcasts on the Patreon. And it helps support us and what we do, and we absolutely rely on every single one of you, and we really appreciate that. We have our King Dean Doppeldongers and our professional cake sitters, but we really want to shout out as well, including Bastion, Rob, Bicon, Cider Drinker, Dr. D, Dagna, Leroy, Cider Drinker, Tony Hot Hands, Devil Pup,
Oh yeah.
and
Isn't that it?
Cider Drinker.
Third time.
As just another aside, professionalcasual.com, you can find all sorts of blogs about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Marvel Crisis Protocol, probably World of Warcraft here soon. I've been streaming here every day so far this week, 3 to 6 p.m., some WoW. So if you're into that at all, make sure to check me out here doing that. I'm probably going to do that 3 to 4 to 5 days a week.
6, I don't know.
Just as much as I can, but the schedule's up on the Twitch right now, and right here on the Twitch, and I intend to stick by that as a minimum. So yeah, just come hang out. We're on Bleeding Hollow. Join the Professional Casuals Guild, and we'll have a good time. I'll give you a bunch of bags. You'll get a bunch of bags, so you can
just boxes and bags.
You can put all the stuff in your bags.
You get bags in the guild?
Yeah.
Are they like monogrammed?
No, they're bags that I buy off the auction house that increase your storage by 32 slots. It's a lot. It's a lot of slots.
Sounds like a lot of slots.
It is. But thank you guys so much, guys. We love you. We'll see you at LVO. Make sure to check back here Monday for the Power Phase, where Dan and I will be playing a follow-up to our cleanup phase last week. The Elite 8 Showdown style bracket that we did on the most recent cleanup phase over on the Patreon was the most mid 4 threat. Not the most push, not the best 4 threat, not the worst 4 threat. What 4 threats right dead center?
Right? The PCN take on a tier list.
Correct.
We're not going to talk about top or bottom, but the middle out.
Exactly, middle out.
How do we not make that joke the whole time?
Yeah, for real. And we're big fans of that show, both of us, I'm pretty certain. We really should have. But Dan and I will be running the entire bracket against each other, the winners and the losers of the bracket. So that, I believe, includes Carnage, Enchantress, Vision,
Medusa,
Ultron,
Sabretooth.
There's only 2 more. Who are the other? Oh, there's only 1 more. Who's that last one, Dan? Oh, gosh, it could be anyone. Even a boat.
Who was the last one?
I think it was
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. Good memory, man.
That was tough. My brain hurts.
So Dan and I will be dividing up those characters and playing them this Monday on the Power Phase right here on the Twitch, live from Bearded Dragon Games. .online. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, send us who your most mid 4 is. Who's the most mid? Well, how do I end this again?
Stop streaming?
Hold on.
I don't know.
I'm sure I'm looking right at it. Where is it? This is not it.
That's not even close. What even is that?
Okay, bye guys.